Hello, Brian Barrett here.
Hi, Brian. We'll be getting going in just a couple of minutes.
Nope, I'll be here. Thanks, Jacob.
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Pride. I'm chair of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. This is our regular business meeting. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Present are myself, my colleague, Vice Chair Robert Levenheim, Supervisor Brian Barrett, our engineer John Tressler, our solicitor Ron Karasek, and our office manager Julia Heilica. Also present are members of the public and Doug Olmstead on behalf of Smithfield Gateway. Our first order of business is considering the minutes of the May 25th regular meeting and the June 8th regular work session. Have my colleagues had a chance to review those?
I have. I'll make a motion that we approve both of them.
Motion by Mr. Barrett. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Both are adopted. Next is number 5, public comments on the agenda. This is not commenting on agenda items, but commenting on what is included or not included this evening. I know that we have guests in the room and also on Zoom, so if anybody has anything. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to our first public hearing of tonight, which is in regards to the wireless communication facilities ordinance and the corresponding fee schedule for that. Ron, do you want to discuss the housekeeping of that?
Yeah, I do not have the fee schedule in front of me, but I can give a synopsis with respect to the ordinance. It was prepared by the Common Law Group of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which specializes in wireless communication facilities law. It's a lengthy ordinance. It covers approximately 30 pages and deals with 3 types of wireless communication facilities. One is a tower-based, one is non-tower-based, and the other is a small wireless communications facility. Tower-based facilities are what we normally see by way of, say, cell towers. They're required or they are allowed in various districts of the township. And there are certain time limits within which applications must be acted upon, or the matter would be considered to be approved. There's also non-tower-based facilities, which deal with applications, on other types of non-towered items, a tall barn, a silo, something to that effect. And there are the small wireless communication facilities. Those are what we've been customarily hearing of late as 5G, that are allowed in the public right-of-way, and the township has a right to charge a fee, a fair, reasonable fee, for the use and occupancy of a township right-of-way for 5G services. That being said, again, it's a very lengthy ordinance. It has been advertised, and also copies provided. I don't have anything else that the board would like to discuss with respect to the ordinance or not. If you do, let me know. And as I said, I've not seen the fee schedule, so I'm not sure what that fee schedule is. Someone else will have to carry the ball with that.
I believe the fee schedule is set by the FCC somewhere in the
Yeah, they're set by the FCC according to their rules. So it's tower-based. Yeah, it sets application fees, and then annual administrative fees also.
And it's my understanding that the Cohen Law Group will assist the township in reviewing and acting upon a wireless facility, communication facilities as they come in. In other words, they won't be reviewed in-house, they'll be reviewed by the Cohen Law Firm pursuant to this ordinance and any other applicable law.
and I believe there's a provision that allows us to pass on those fees that are for expert advice on these things.
Yeah, there's a provision in the ordinance that allows the township may hire consultants and experts to assist the township in reviewing any application, any possible violations, and the like, and the applicant is to reimburse the township for those fees.
Make sure that we do not hemorrhage money and also not make money on either, which is the right idea. With that said, does anybody have any questions or comments on this before we entertain closing the hearing part of this?
My only comment is that the firm that did this has been one of the leading firms of doing these kinds of ordinances across the state. And I think what they've given us is pretty much what would be acceptable, they feel, for any municipality to be able to function under what is certainly a changing technology and will become much more complex for us to understand as it goes on.
Okay, Brian, anything before I ask for a motion?
No, not really, Jacob. I think maybe eventually it's going to tie in with our ARPA and our ARPA funding, but no, I have nothing further to say.
I'll make the motion. Is hearing closed?
Oh, that would be the motion I'll entertain first.
I'll make the motion to close the hearing.
Okay, Mr. Levenheim made a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now I'll entertain a motion on adopting the ordinance.
I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now to fully enact the ordinance, we need to consider resolution number 480, which sets that fee schedule as we discussed just a moment ago. So I'll entertain a motion on Resolution 480.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Levenheim. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Excellent. Well, that concludes that portion of the meeting. Next is our plans to act on. The first is the Manowski subdivision or sewage facilities planning module. Julie, do you want to give a quick 30 seconds on that?
Sure. This was sent to you by our SEO, Scott Brown. He has reviewed the plans. That review is in your email. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to accept the sewer planning module, and they have signed the SDMSs. John, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's accurate.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on authorizing the chair to sign the Manowski sewage facilities planning module?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Levenheim. I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Next is considering the Shikaitis minor subdivision. John, we understand with the letter that you have communicated to us that there are 2 waiver requests. Do you want to give us an overview on that?
Yes. One of the requests for a waiver is not to submit a title report. Our ordinance does request a title report for all subdivisions. I would say that 80 to 90% of the time we do. Provide for a waiver simply because if a property isn't being recently transferred, it's actually a burden on the client to get a title report. We rely on their surveyor or their engineer to do the adequate research to determine whether there's any easements or utilities on the property that should be identified. We believe that in this case that has been done, and that a title report is not necessary, so we would support the waiver for not needing a title report. The Planning Commission also supported that waiver. The second waiver that is being asked for is the ordinance requires that a private street be brought up, be paved, and have a cartway width of 18 feet. The road that is in question in this subdivision is Hidden Valley Drive. It only has a width of 14 feet, and as I recall, it is a dirt or gravel road. After discussion within the Planning Commission, and since it is a relatively short road, the Planning Commission voted to grant the waiver that this not be widened to 18 feet or be paved. So we don't have as your engineer, we don't have a feeling one way or the other. We just pointed it out. The Planning Commission was of the opinion that it didn't need to be done.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we proceed to the approval process?
Just one question, Mr. Chair. John, do we have a written request from these individuals for that? I did not bring that, but yes, we did. Okay, because I wasn't at the June 10 meeting because of that. That was submitted after the meeting. Okay.
Right, and I understand that they're on the plan itself before us too. Okay.
So as long as we don't have a situation where, again, someone will say you let them get away with it, now what to do with it, so. No, they follow the rules, that's all that matters. We made sure they did that at the Planning Commission.
Excellent. Okay. Hearing that, do I hear a motion on waiver request section 803R, which is the title report waiver?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Levenheim. I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second waiver request is section 1008.3 and Appendix B regarding the width and paving of Hidden Valley Drive. Do I hear a motion on that?
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All that said, I would move to grant the subdivision according to those waivers in the engineer's letter of June 16th, 2021. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ron, is there anything you need the conditional approval form or anything like that?
Looking at John's letter of June 16, now he had also prepared one a week or so before a second review that had outstanding items, but the review letter of June 16 basically says that based upon our review, we have no further engineering comments. Remaining comments are the waivers. So the conditional plan approval would be obviously the fact that the waivers be noted on the plan.
Then they are.
And if they are noted on the plan, then it may well be that there are really no other conditions other than to sign the plan, and have the signature of the planning minister heads in the field. That have to be part of it. They're all taken care of. So there may well be no conditions in this at all.
All right.
But we should have the waiver forms prepared, which I will do, and send to the applicant's engineer and request that they be signed off.
Excellent. Any questions? Our next item then is considering awarding the 2021-2022 material bid. Our roadmaster had prepared or solicited bids, and he prepared his recommendations that we award the Super Pave and Cold Patch bid to Eureka Quarry Inc. and award the stone bid to Marshall's Creek Quarry, formerly 209 Enterprises. Anybody have any questions on those recommendations? Okay. Hearing none, do I hear a motion that we award the Super Pave and Cold Patch bid to Eureka Inc. and award the stone bid to Marshall's Creek Quarry?
I'll motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Next is discussing the Smithfield Gateway project. At this point, Doug, I will let you take that away.
Okay. I provided a mini agenda for the 4 items I wanted to briefly discuss with everybody. The first exhibit I'm going to hand out highlights where the township HOP items would be within this highway improvement project. There's 3 or 4 sheets there. And this is based on the HOP that was actually signed and submitted to the department, I think back in either late December or early January. Associated with that, on that plan, there are 3 easement areas that would be adjacent to the right-of-way that would be part of the overall drainage plan that would be in the township's name. And over the past few months, in some cases over a year, worked with the property owners for those easements. One of them was on the lands of Riccobono, at the corner of his car wash, adjacent to the Remax building. That's on that sheet 1. And the other, one is for Barth Rubin, and that's actually to the, east of Music Center Drive, on the north side of the highway. And then on the last page is small drainage easements that would surround the outlet structure on the Classic Quality Homes, parcel. And I have expanded views for each of those 3 easement areas that include what the easement looks like, plus the proposed grading that's associated with each of those. That's part of the, these are exhibits that were attached to the easement that was granted by these property owners to DEPG Mosher. And then it's intended that DEPG Mosher turn them over to PMI, which was done, and now PMI is in a position that they'd like to record the deed for the easements to transfer from PMI over to the township so that we can stay on the good side of PennDOT. So a copy of that was provided to the solicitor and the engineer, and I didn't know if they had any contrary suggestions for any proposed changes before these were signed by a PMI and recorded.
Doug, I just got mine, Friday afternoon, and I was in a seminar all day, so I haven't had a chance to look at the documents at all. I don't know if John has, but it looks like the deed seems to be pretty much a standard deed, and I'm assuming when you say easement 1, easement 2, easement 3 are the same, reflecting these numbers here, drawing 1, drawing 2, drawing 3, I'm not sure. Okay. Because again, I haven't done the meets and bounds, I haven't done any of that.
Yeah, I glanced at them and I gave them to staff, Doug. I would like to get a formal letter on record saying that we're okay with it, which I'll try to get out to you by the end of the week.
Okay, if we could do that, because Mark had some RI surgery, so he's not gonna be back in the office until Thursday, so.
Okay.
If we could target the end of the week to get this recorded, that would be great.
What?
Because we need to coordinate with, Chuck Leonard's office, because he's gotta bring a couple of board members in to sign the deed. Chuck can't do that, so. Okay. I don't know if you ever received copies of the recorded ones that went into PM. Should I send those to both of you? Would that make your life a little bit easier if I sent those?
I thought I had gotten copies of something recorded, Doug, but I can't tell you I remember what it is. I thought it was the permanent easement agreements that, the easement agreements that were signed earlier.
Yeah,
about 2 or 3 of them, maybe.
We've got easements and recorded documents coming out the wazoo.
Right, and
Yeah.
I mean, some of these I know I've looked at before.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact, but.
Well, what I can do is I'll send you the 3 recorded, easements, and then, if you've got them, you just believe me.
Okay, help me out here, Doug, for just 1 second, and I'll let you move on.
Oh, boy.
One where it says figure 2 in the leader paragraph, all that certain easement, blah, 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 figure 2. What figure is that here?
That would be the advantage of having the recorded document that this is referencing, so that, because it's in that, so that's why I'm saying I would resend those to you.
Because then in easement 2, it says figure 3, and then in easement 3, it says drawings 1 and 2, so we switch from the word figure to drawings 1 and 2.
Depends on what attorney was working on it at the time, so.
So I can see I have drawings 1 and 2 here, but okay, I think I have enough to be dangerous, as I like to say, but send me, if I did not get those already, send them to me, because
I will do that.
I'll be able to cross-check them and do all that good stuff.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is the interim HOP. What I'm providing is a copy of 2 sheets of paper. One is with the intersection of what will be Mosier Farm Drive and 209 will be under the full HOP. And then the second page is what PennDOT and we have agreed is the interim HOP. So as you can see, the interim HOP is a greatly reduced version of what is on the first sheet. Apparently, St. Luke's has had some rather bad experiences with PennDOT on facilities not being ready, and then they've been told that they can't open up until the facility has been taken care of. So, but they requested, and I'll put requested in quotes, that we get an interim driveway permit so that if for some reason or another, when they're ready to open up, if that traffic signal is not operational, there is an HOP in existence that allows them to get access to their building until the traffic signal does become operational.
So you're calling this an interim HOP,
Yes.
and when do you expect to get the final HOP? Not till September, is that what you're saying here?
When I get to the schedule, I'll go into that in more detail. We'll have the HOP probably within the next 30 days. September 1, which is on the schedule, is the date that it would be put out on the street for bidding. So between now and then, ECMS has its own, going around the horn as far as people to sign off on the documents before it actually goes out on the street.
Yeah, I'm only asking from the viewpoint of when you can record your land development plan. Because you have, one of the conditions of approval is you have all outside agency permits.
No, totally understand that. And what'll happen is as all of these documents get in and get signed, they're gonna sit in Mark's office as, the escrow agent.
Right.
And then, once the financing documents are signed, in about 2-3 weeks at the most, and the development agreement is finished here, and the land development plan is signed, and we've got the HOP, all of those documents will in essence be signed within the same day or so, in a very specific order so that everybody is happy.
And what day do you anticipate that being?
The recording date, probably, the middle of July, between July 15th and July 30th.
Okay, because originally you were hoping middle of June to
You're
the
right.
end of June. Okay, so we slipped a month.
We slipped a month.
Okay. Just so I'm,
Yep, no, we slipped a month for any number, of reasons.
okay.
But this HOP, for the interim, PennDOT said, well, as the township, understand what's going on as far as the HOP.
So,
This interim HOP is just in case scenario, that if that signal's not up and operational by next Labor Day, and they're ready to open up, the interim HOP provides them with a piece of paper that says, I can still open up my building without the traffic signal being on.
Okay, so even though you're calling this an interim HOP,
It's hoped it's never used.
and you hope it's never used, and you are gonna have your full HOP when you record your land development plan?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the interim HOP is not intended to replace that one at all. This is just something that's gonna sit there on the side. PennDOT has agreed that, with St. Luke's, that yes, it's okay, you know, to do that, otherwise they wouldn't have entertained, you know, the application, but, and apparently, you know, some of them are aware of the problems that they've had that, caused them great heartache, so, that's the reason for it.
Doug, it's Brian. Just a quick question. I'm sitting here and I don't have the luxury of looking at all of your handouts, but...
If I knew you weren't gonna be here, I would have emailed the stuff to you, I apologize.
No, that's not at all. I should have asked if I needed, but I'm just, the worst case scenario, God forbid, if you know, we're working with, whatever, PennDOT, if for some reason, you used the date of, was it Labor Day of 2022? And the hospital field, that's when they want to open?
Yes.
Okay. If, as I say, God forbid, we don't have that HOP in place, the concern will be traffic control with the interim HOP. In other words, without a red light there, we really got to put our brains together on this about cross traffic turns, and if they're going to enter, the main entrance still would be off of 209.
A mini traffic impact study had to be done as part of this interim HOP, and the only facility that can open up, even if I've got my retail building ready to rock and roll,
right.
If we get into this interim HOP situation, the only building that'll be able to be opened is the medical office building. And this interim HOP, Brian, does allow for a turn lane to make left-hand turns into the site.
Okay, good. That's we talked about that in the past.
And this also would mean that, and that's why the timing has to be adjusted here, depending on what goes on, because I mentioned in my agenda that this is the minimum. What would probably happen is the interim HOP would have to be upgraded to show what has been constructed, and then work out a line painting scenario to best show what's needed to make sure everybody is happy.
This is, in effect, you know, like you said, kind of the minimum, so if you have more done, then your plan will be updated to reflect that.
That's correct. For example, the driveway between Dairy Queen and the car wash, and also the driveway access to the odd lot would have to remain as full-service driveways.
Okay.
Because PennDOT doesn't want the driveway on the other side of Mosher Farm Drive to be opened in that scenario, because that's why it's shown as a T intersection on that page.
Right.
This is just provided with a piece of paper that, God forbid, the traffic signal is not able to be turned on next Labor Day, that they've got a piece of paper that it provides everybody with the framework to be able to get them open.
Doug, Brian again. Is there any way we can work with you to ensure that the light is installed and ready to go? I know what you're going through, and well, I think I know what you're going through, but in reality, maybe we could work with you to just move with PennDOT to assure that it does happen. So I'm just offering our services.
We appreciate the offer of help, and if, once the contract is awarded, and the actual physical construction would begin next April. So before the schedule was going to have them get started, get some work done, close down for the winter, and then restart. So this actually, and Brian Boyer has always stated that it was just a one-season job, and as it turns out, that's exactly what it is. It would start in April 1, be done by September 1. So, and what'll happen is the contract would be awarded, at the end of the year, and then that gives them 4 months to go through and get all materials in place, because if anybody's been involved in any construction projects, this summer, delays are all over the place because of inability to be able to get materials. So the contractor will get everything in order, so he will be out there with the pavement saw on April 1 getting started. And that provides a segue into the proposed schedule. I've only got the one copy, and I'll provide this to Julie and then take care of it. The HOP, again, is expected to be let on September 1, and the traffic signal is expected to be operational by September 1. Actual construction would start on April 1 of next year. The MOB, the medical office building, is expected to be under construction later this summer, and will also take about 1 year to construct and the fit out by the tenant, so that opens in the fall of 2022. The retail building is expected to start construction this fall and open next summer, as long as all the HOP improvements are in place. And phase 1A2, which is that parcel that is at the intersection of Music Center. It's sandwiched between Music Center and Mosier Farm Drive. Right.
Yep.
That we expect plans to be submitted before the end of the year. Phase 1 plans are expected to be submitted the first half of next year, and in the second half of next year, we expect to be able to submit plans for phase 2A. What I'm going to be providing to Julia is and I think you may have already seen this, is the projected water flows for Smithfield Township, but it does provide a nice guide in terms of what the proposed facilities are. Yes, it's got the water usage, but there's also a nice, clear, concise time frame as to when various things are supposed to take place. Attached to that is the latest and greatest version of the master plan.
Great.
And then attached to that is the schedule that is being submitted to PennDOT. Actually, this reviewed it a number of times, but it's the PennDOT schedule that'll become part of the ECMS contract to do the highway improvements.
Doug, you mentioned water line, and I read Dave Horton's will serve letter, which is pretty lengthy for a will serve letter. Can you interpret that for me and how you intend to address it?
Yeah. And it ties in well. That's perhaps the advantage of having that particular schedule, because the amount of water we need initially, based on the overall projected, schedule is, or water use required, is not that great. So they'll be able to fit us in as they're going along. And what'll happen is the water will tie into the water main that's adjacent to the hotel. I forget what the name of it is, there at the corner of 447 and 209.
Oh, the days there.
Yeah, so, and then it'll come partially through 209. There will be, when it comes from beside the hotel out to 209, there will be a T installed there to allow the flexibility to cut across 209 and serve the other side.
Right, that's what we talked about, okay.
Right. And then it'll come up 209 into our property. For the time being, there will be a temporary line of blue groove plastic as opposed to doing the class 52 ductile iron to go around the Dunkin' Donuts so that they can keep their business open for as long as possible. And then it'll go up into Road B again, which is now being called Smithfield Drive. No, Gateway Drive.
Okay.
Who named that?
You got Smithfield Lane on Road C, Brian, which is the road between Music Center and Mosher.
Oh, I know it. No explain. I just wondered who named it. Named the drive.
Yeah, somebody who signs a paper for me every other week.
Yeah. Well, it's beats A, B, and C anyway.
Yes, it does beat A, B, and C, so. Unfortunately, we were able to get that resolved and approved by the township and the county, before we finalized the subdivision plans, because they're reflected on the subdivision plan. So, but then it just run up there and then follow the regular plans in order to feed down into the, that, and then as the road, as Mosher Farm Drive continues up, water line would continue up there and then tie into the water line that right now ends at the end of the cul-de-sac, Mosher Farm Drive cul-de-sac.
Well, yeah, I understand the design intent. What my question, I guess, that I want to be comfortable with is you're going to be asking for to record your phase 1 land development plan fairly soon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we know we have to have the agreement with, BCRA.
Okay, because I don't consider that letter entirely clear.
No, we understand that we need to have the operating agreement with BCRA. So in addition to the development agreement here, we'll have the operating agreement with BCRA.
Okay.
And also a revised sewer service agreement with the Smithfield Sewer Authority.
Okay.
So there are 3 documents that we know that are part of the overall package in order to satisfy, your needs as well as ours.
Okay, good.
And then at that point, they can get their building and zoning permits, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where we are at the schedule, because I apologize for missing that deadline, but, and that'll be obviously a moving target as we go forward, but at least it kind of gives you a feel for what's going to be taking place. Last item I had was on the escrow accounts. Right now, we have just one escrow account with the township, and we'd like to break it into 3. One, for which it was originally intended, which is for the review of plans and documents. But then we want to set up a separate escrow account for each of the 2 contracts that we have with Brian, one for the infrastructure contract, and then the other one for the pad contract. So set up a separate escrow.
So I will have to flag my invoices so that they go to the proper escrow account then.
Yes.
As well as Ron. Yeah.
Right. So I think what I'm going to do, we have a project number. I'll leave the base project number for the design, and then I'm going to put an I after it for the infrastructure and a P after for the pad. And that'll be able, Julie or whoever's processing this will be able to know which bin to put those accounts in.
Right, because some of these come out of, the fees come out of our pocket, some of them come out of the grant dollars that are available. So that's the reason why we're asking for it to be split up. We apologize for, the little bit of extra work that is to at least to get it set up, but I think once it's set up, it's going to make life easier, especially if somebody from Harrisburg decides that they want to audit us on one of the many grants or loans that we're getting from them.
And you are taking a leap of faith that I'm gonna be able to know if I'm billing for design or infrastructure or pad.
I'm gonna, unless we really did something wrong on the construction work, all of your charges would be towards the design and review.
Okay. Because I put the initials here, DIP, but.
Well, because I suppose, for the infrastructure and the pad construction accounts, that would be more like the inspections that go on from Bashang James, right?
That's more on John.
That's more
Right.
for John, because different buckets are paying for those, and we need to make sure that, especially the one for the pad, they were just so picky on what they wanted to do, So I don't have anything else. I'm only asking that you make sure that the minutes reflect that we had a discussion with respect to the interim HOP, because once those minutes are approved, I'm gonna have to send them PennDOT to prove to them that we actually talked about it.
If we decide to break this up into 3 separate escrow accounts, how will the township decide what the, replenished amount is and what it needs to hit?
Right.
Like, is this going to keep that 14,000 number that we have and split it into maybe, 5, 5, and 4, and then with replenished amount of 2,500, or how do we do this?
At the tail end of the design one, that could be a lower number. And I don't know what John's, I haven't, looking at that, but depending on what his charges are on a monthly basis, the amount of escrow that's required should probably reflect, so that you're not calling me up every other day saying I need another check.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree, the plan review process should be winding down until they submit their next round of plans.
Right. But then we would bring it up, so you can set it, you can agree to a smaller number now, but then once a new application comes in, and we sign an escrow agreement at that point in time, because I don't think one exists right now.
Correct.
And we sign an escrow agreement for that new set of plans, then the number for what the escrow account should be, can be set at that point in time, whatever it is. Should be.
I won't let the escrow accounts get below $3,000, Julia. Once you hit 3, I would send out a request for replenishment.
And then, beyond this, as we get toward, the actual site work, those escrow numbers are gonna be covered in the developer's agreement.
The developer's agreement will make reference to the escrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of the developer's agreement does have the estimated construction costs in it. And I fully expect our fees will be less than what's in that developer's agreement.
Yeah.
So, but that will reflect what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because those fees will also, offset the expenses from,
Right.
doing
Some compaction.
right, compaction testing, because Mid-Atlantic Engineering, as part of this overall group for the inspections, John and his company is playing the lead. Mid-Atlantic is gonna be the one that's gonna be sealing the MPDS drawings, as-built, and the permit requires that, critical stage inspections, critical stages of construction require somebody to be on site during the installation of those to make sure it's done properly. So Mid-Atlantic is serving in that role, because John can't wear 2 hot hats and seal the MPDS drawings, so he's gonna serve in that particular.
In the meantime, before we have the agreement set up related to the second subdivision plan, how, do we need to have any other agreement in place as we separate these other escrows and set those amounts?
If you have a standard escrow agreement that you.
We're actually talking about it later tonight, so we
All right,
should have
well,
one by the end of the day.
Happens to be the next item.
If you're gonna have one in the very near future, then send that, and then we'll get those signed, and will be your test case for how well it works.
Yeah, it's our next item, so.
And then, John, I'm assuming that we'll come to you with a suggestion for the escrow
Right,
amount?
right. I think we'll have, if we approve the format, tonight, I think we will set up, I don't know, we have to set up 3 or 2. You may already have one for the reviews, and we'll set up one for the infrastructure, and we'll set up a second one for the pad.
Right.
I have nothing else. Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody from, either the board or the, public present, either on, Zoom or here in person, have anything they'd like to ask about this?
Questions come up later, you know where to find me. So,
Sounds good. Well,
thank you very much for your time.
thank you, Doug.
Take care, Doug.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Our next item is, professional escrow agreement.
My.
So At the last meeting, you guys saw the two different agreements that we had. One came from our SEO, Scott Brown. The other was one that Ron had drafted and given to us a few years ago. Our solicitor and our engineer said that they would look over and recommend to the Board of Supervisors which one they thought. Regardless of which one they choose, they do want the cover page that has listed out very easily the owner, address, contact information, et cetera. So I will hand it over to them.
I looked at both of them. I'm fine with the version that Ron submitted, the shorter version. I think it protects the township adequately, and I think it's fine.
And I would just say, Mr. Chair, that, I concur the document. I believe it is sufficient, but I like the fact that paragraph 22 basically says that the township, is insulated in the event anyone would have any issue with respect to this, and it's not a representation or guarantee by the township that, anything that's gonna be done is safe and proper and all that other jazz. So that's not in the sewer agreement one. However, I agree with Julia that the cover page that has information, contact information, billing information, that should be prepared in some type of general format. And if it looks like this one that I prepared doesn't work, well, then we have the other one. But I would think we should be okay with this one, and when we talk about, Doug saying, well, he wants 3 different accounts, we could even do this in such a fashion that we can make it just say there's gonna be 3 accounts, and here they are, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Rather than having to do 3 documents.
3 separate whole agreements, but
So probably could do it that way too, but it's up to them. If they want one for each for grant purposes or whatever, well, then we can do that too.
And then the next thing that we still need to discuss is the administration fee. At the last meeting, I expressed that our auditor suggested a possible $50 yearly fee for this. At the last meeting, we discussed doing a $50 fee at the start of the escrow and the close of the escrow. And Mr. Tressler also brought up the percentage for admin costs that we would then need to track. So whatever document you choose, that issue still remains up in the air, and you will need to make a decision on that.
I think I did throw out a 3% or
Yeah.
something like, and I did check after I went back to the office at the same time I reviewed this. I saw at least one township that was charging 10%. Now,
wow.
I think they were challenged, that's how I found it, but they were charging 10%. So I don't think the 3% is out of line, that's why I bring that up. But that's just what I found when I did some additional research.
Right. Well, in the agreement that, I had prepared, I'm not sure if I added it or if Julia added it. $50 fee is gonna be assessed once at the opening of the account. And I heard Julia say something, closing the account, so are we doing it both ways then, or just, that's the annual fee and that's that?
This is the discussion we need to have, how we assess that.
Right.
Our auditor even said that every January 1st, we could take every escrow account that was open, assess the $50 fee on it right then and there, do it once a year. These are the options.
Right. I mean, I think that would be the option I'd be willing to settle at, but I also think that, the 3% option, could make sense. Now, I guess my question is that assessed like quarterly and it's 3% is your cap, and then you just, leave the difference between that? Because you kind of need to account for staff time and things like that. You do your real cost of what it was to administer it, and then you leave the difference in the fund.
Well, I think in the instances where I've seen that applied, I think the townships just by a 3% against the overall cost of the construction, improvements, I don't think they track anything. I think they just say that this is what we charge to administer this account on behalf of the township. Now, whether you feel comfortable with that or not, may be a different, but I do think that's how they do it.
I would agree with John, that's what I have seen also. But I can tell you, if someone challenges it and a judge says, okay, show me why you're using 3% as opposed to 2 or 4 or some other number, and we can't justify it, it's gonna go bye-bye.
Right.
I mean, I think, and I don't know how it works internally, but I know you're gonna get my fees, you're gonna get Ron's fees, and you're gonna get those money. And you're gonna spend 1 or 2 hours writing checks and applying that accounting to their account. If you charge $50 an hour for your administrative staff and they spend 2 hours, I mean, that's at least $100 every month, I would think.
Right.
So,
Shouldn't it
at a bare minimum.
Right. But should it match their actual hourly rate, or can we just say we believe that work is worth $50?
I don't think you could say we believe that work is worth
Yeah,
$50.
because they're paid like 19 something an hour.
It has to match what the township is actually paying.
Right.
So that
Right.
the township isn't making money on it, it's simply
Well,
breaking even, so taxpayers are not paying for it.
Right.
one thing to consider also is that our third-party accountants would stick with it, so their fees will keep on top of it as well.
What if we said 2%, see how it goes?
Or what if we just said, said flat out, it's going to be the real cost of administrative time to include the hourly rate of our internal staff and any consultants involved in administering it? I mean, could we not just say that it's going to meet the real cost instead of having a percentage?
You could do that and then say, and it will be assessed against you either quarterly, semi-annually, even monthly. I mean, you know,
If I was the person opening the account, though, I'd say, this is awfully open-ended. If I knew it was 2%, at least I know what I'm paying. The other way, I just don't know.
But I guess I wonder if it's 2%, if it's 1%, 2%, or 3%, do you, if, say, in a perfect world, like on 30,000 in a year, that's, $300.
Would be 1%.
Would be, okay, 300 is 1%. So, if the actual staff time and cost was theoretically 100, you leave the other 200, right? Doesn't the percentage just serve as a cap of what can be taken?
It does. The way we set up the escrow agreement, and I can't remember, I don't have it in front of me, I can't remember it, it's either 10 or 15%, and that includes our fees, Ron's fees, your fees. And I had a discussion, Doug and Jim wanted me to explain that, and I said, that's how we calculate it. The MPC allows us to calculate it that way, and that's what we put in the escrow agreement for the developer's agreement. I said, Jim, I don't expect to hit that threshold with my fees. I think that's the upper threshold, and unless your contractor is just a total out-of-control person who can't build something, I said, I'm not gonna have to be out on the site that much, and we're never gonna hit that threshold. So, I guess what I'm saying is, not only are my fees in there, but your fees are in there as well, as a threshold. If you charge something less than that, they're already on notice as to what their maximum should be, as long as everything goes smoothly.
All right. That makes sense. I think I would prefer going with like the 3% number, expecting that we're not always gonna hit that. I think that's probably the best way that we can make sure our expenses, that it's revenue neutral, but that it also, totally tracks with the size of a project too.
So what I'm hearing, and just to clarify, Jacob, what you're saying is go with a 3% as a maximum for the escrow agreement, but have ourselves, and have our finance staff track their time, so if we don't hit that 3%, use money,
You
we just don't
leave
charge.
it in the account.
Whereas John has suggested, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we just say, there's a 3% assessment fee on this account, and we take that $900 on the $30,000 escrow, and that's just ours without tracking it, until a developer challenges this and says, prove the time that you've spent, which
Those-
is where we'll run into issues.
Those are the two different analyses. I think I agree with Ron. Jacob's way is the safer, more honest, fairer way of doing it.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, we can do it the way Robert said, 2% or 3%, and just say that if then, at the end of our accounting period, or whatever language you wanna use, it's not been completely consumed, then the balance will be carried over
we
to
could
the
do that
next
too.
year.
Same thing.
It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, Barris carried over to the next year, and then,
Let's do that.
you know, it's still 3%, but if they got a couple bucks towards it, they don't have to come up with it all.
Right.
And to provide further clarification for me, does that 3% cap assess every time the developer deposits money into the account? Or is it assessed on a one-time basis for the amount the account is worth? And what I mean by that, let's say we're sticking with this 30,000, we assess that we can use up to $900 for administrative fees on the 3%. What happens if they go through that $30,000 in 3 months and they give us another $30,000? Are we then bringing our cap up to 1,800? Okay.
That's what, you know, makes sense from my perspective. I think that it keeps us, I think it's a safe way to do it. I think presently we assess quarterly. Quarterly, I think the escrow billing is done. I might be,
Because of the amount that Gateway has been going, has had to, basically every 2 weeks at this
Yeah.
point. Everyone else is on a much more relaxed.
yeah, well, most other people do. I mean, I don't know.
Do you send them a bill? Like, I know I send you a bill.
Yeah.
Do you just forward that?
We send them a bill with like a cover letter, and then it has, copies of the relevant bills.
You may wanna add the 3% to, and if Ron has a bill, and I have a bill, and you send that to them, you may wanna put your 3% on those two bills. That's what you're administrating, is all this accounting that's going on. You're paying me, you're paying Ron, and you're sending out a letter, to them, with the invoices that they're supposed to pay, and you're also gonna be sending out a letter that they gotta replenish their account from time to time. So, if my bill comes out at $5,000, and Ron's is might be less, if he's at 2, that's 7, 3% of $7,000 is what? It's only $210, right? So it's not really that big a bill. And it probably reflects close to what your cost is to handle all that.
We're kinda clear? Got a cap, and up to the cap, and if, more funds are deposited, cap basically by percent of whatever's.
Whatever developer gives us money-wise, whether it be 30,000, if at the end of the year, we're assessed at $100,000 of escrow that they have given us throughout the year to cover their expenses, maybe 3% of the full amount of money that they have given us, and use that as our cap for administrative
Right.
fees. Is that correct?
Which is,
Yeah.
right, and that would be $3,000 with your example.
Okay.
Divide against, actual expenses.
And you leave the difference, right, to carry.
Right, and then if, you know, across the year, then our time is only assessed at $1,500, we only bill them for $1,500 throughout the year. But if our time is assessed at $4,500, we only collect that $3,000.
Let's do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it.
Amen. Can I ask just one question? As far as our charges, not so much Ron and John, but ours, are we restricted in any way as we are with the zoning and right to know? Ron, is it's actual charge, so Julia, myself, or whoever, Lynn, at their actual rate of pay, puts so much time in, that's the way it is. Is that correct?
far as I know, with the land development matters, subdivision matters, the answer to that is yes. The township is to charge enough money that the township taxpayers are not paying for someone's land development or someone's subdivision plan, and that's why the fees when you file land development or subdivision plan are relatively high, because you're attempting to counteract the fact that taxpayer money will go in for that. So I believe you can charge actual rates.
Okay. I only say that because of the situations with right to know and zoning. And we charge $1,500 for zoning. If we're below that, we reimburse. And but we are only allowed to charge certain items, certain functions. And we wouldn't have that restriction per se then when we're into our escrow accounts.
Not for subdivision or land development.
Okay.
With that, do you need any formal action, or are you okay to draft and then we?
I understand what you guys have talked about now. I will probably put draft language in in Ron's escrow account, have him look it over. So if you want to approve this conditionally, upon review of the final document with our solicitor, then we should be good to go, and we can start putting into circulation a valid escrow agreement.
Okay. So moved. I suppose, just for clarification, will include that 3% cap, and with the agreement previously prepared by our solicitor, Ron Karasak. That adequately?
And including the cover letter from the sewer escrow document.
Oh, and including the cover letter for information from the agreement previously prepared by SEO Brown. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Come on, Robert, I didn't catch your vote.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Next is our July meeting schedule. I added this because, Brian made us aware that there's an important county commissioners meeting to attend in regard to American Rescue Plan administration. That conflicts with our next work session because that meeting starts at I think 3:30, and then our regular meeting in July, which would I think is the 27th or 28th. That I won't be here, and Robert will be away also. So I would like to fix those conflicts by having our July meetings for our work session July 14th at 4, which is just the day after we would have ours, so we can attend the commissioners meeting, and then pull our regular meeting up a week so we have at least someone that will be here to run the Zoom and whatnot on July 20th at 7. So it's not really changing the times, just the days.
And that's someone, Jacob, would that be you?
Yes.
Good. All right.
will be away in Maryland for that week.
Okay. All right.
Ron, I see you're checking your schedules. Will those days work for you?
I'm looking right now.
And I have a new phone, so I don't know how to get to it.
Oh.
So tell me what day of the month that is.
Okay, July 4th. Oh, go ahead.
Wednesday, July 14th at 4 p.m. will be our work session.
Okay, at 4.
At 4 p.m.
And what day of the week is it? Or
Wednesday.
What?
July 14th.
What Wednesday of the month is that?
That would be the second Wednesday of the month.
You mean you don't know that it's Bastille Day? Don't they celebrate that in Bangor?
You're lucky they celebrate like Christmas in Bangor. Are you kidding me? Bastille Day. You're a better man than me. All right, so second Wednesday, so we're good.
Second Wednesday, and then the regular meeting then would be shifted to Tuesday, July 20th at 7 p.m., which is the third Tuesday of the month.
Okay, that one I would probably not be able to make, since that's when WINGAP meets, for their work session. But we'll see how that goes. For example, WINGAP's meeting tonight, and I told them I can't do both. I have to come here, because the last time I went to you, so we'll see how that goes.
Brian, Robert, do those, dates and times work for you guys?
I'm assuming I can try to make it, we'll see, I'm 6 hours in advance.
Understood.
But I would certainly try to make both of them.
Brian?
I see no conflict whatsoever.
Okay,
The Tuesday meeting will be at 7, that's correct.
cool.
I think too, Jacob, as we've done in the past, we can control our own destiny and what we schedule, what we accept to do, what doesn't have to necessarily be absolutely done, so that we don't put ourselves in a position where we don't have a solicitor and we need one or an engineer. So,
Exactly.
it could work. It could work. Do we have to advertise this? I guess we do, though, right?
You will need to re-advertise both meetings, yes. So if it's
Okay.
and if those times work for everybody, if we could get a motion to, re-advertise our July meetings, we will take care of that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That'd be good, and we can get that done in one ad, right? We don't have to do two sets.
Correct.
Very nice. That saves us a couple dollars where we can. Next is considering scheduling a joint session with the Planning Commission regarding the Economic Development Zone, amendment. I know that we had talked about this a couple of times, but now at this point, we really do have to, decide, knowing our, limits for, July, because we want to have public involvement here.
I certainly would like to be here for that, and I also think that, since it's been 2 years, I think, since we passed that, so there's probably a lot of, questions and comments and so forth, and I would, if we can, I would like to do it when I'm here in August. I mean, maybe we could have a joint session, an open joint session with public, able to attend, advertise, and maybe do it the middle of August. I mean, we've got 2 meetings in August, maybe do it in between, like the 17th or something.
And have a public, like a town hall kind of a meeting, Robert.
Yeah,
both planning commissions, the employer, developers, the public.
Right. Because Brian, it's been 2 years. It seems like there's probably enough things and questions out there that everybody should get together and talk about
Amen.
this.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. In August, that would be fine with me, and I would feel more comfortable with you there anyway.
So we say we have our supervisor meetings on the second and fourth Tuesday, maybe the third Tuesday, like the 17th. Is that it?
Yeah. You meet on the 10th and the 24th.
Yeah.
For your regular meeting. The third Tuesday would be the 17th, but Ron has suggested that he won't be able to be there for that.
Right.
So if it's okay with you guys, let's pick a different day, because I think we really need our.
I would love to have our solicitor engineer there. I think, what date?
Maybe not.
The Planning Commission meets the first Thursday of the month.
Right.
Now, that's early in August, but I don't know what the date would be.
But this isn't a planning commission meeting. It's a meeting with the planning commission.
Right, but I'm saying they meet then, so
Yeah.
like you can accommodate their schedule easier, perhaps.
So then perhaps maybe the Thursday of that week, which would be August 19th.
Yeah, because the planning commission also meets, if needed, on the 19th. I think they meet the third Thursday, so.
Well, they meet the second Thursday,
That's a regular meeting.
and their fourth.
Oh, is it the fourth?
Yeah, their fourth is like an as needed.
We can have it any day of the week.
Right.
Doesn't
Well,
matter.
yeah, just as long as it's like separate from supervisor or planning commission meetings, so we can actually just talk about that and not dwell on, everything else that we have to do. That way we can have a real discussion and not have to cut it short and all that.
What do you think?
And focused, right, yep.
Thursday?
Which would be what?
That would be August 19th.
That works okay with me.
Okay.
John?
Works okay with me.
Okay.
The planning commission meets this Thursday, it should probably be run by them.
Absolutely. I'll see if they're available.
Right. And I presume that would be like a 7 o'clock thing.
It would be, yes, unless, well, because 4 wouldn't necessarily allow people to get off.
Right.
Well, you could make it earlier, too, and get 5, or, you know.
We did 5, Robert, we did 5 in the past. We did a survey, and most of our people that we wanted to be there said that 5 would be fine, it'd be comfortable, but no earlier than that.
How about 5?
I say 5, sure. 5. Now, we're going to go with our own planning commission. Do we want to involve the Monroe County Planning Commission at this time for this meeting?
No, they have no sense of humor.
Brian, you can't see us in the room, but John has suggested waiting and get maybe a little bit further down the road before we involve the Monroe County Planning Commission.
Okay.
Then we could have to look at a draft. Okay, so should we have a conditional motion to advertise this pending availability of a quorum of the planning commission? Or at least some members of the planning commission?
All right, I'll make that the conditional motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Levenheim. Do I hear a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good to me. Next couple of things should go relatively quickly. First is considering ratifying loan payoff of $111,602.04. That was a request by our financial person, Lynn, to make sure that the exact number was specified. We had that, we had authorized the full payoff at our last meeting, was that June 8th? June 8th. But just for our sake.
That's the 274 Marshall Road.
Correct.
Migliaccio property.
Correct. Okay. So having all that said, does anybody have any questions on that? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion that we ratify the loan payoff in the amount of $111,602.04?
Yeah, I'll motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next item is consider renewing Supervisor Levenheim's NRPA membership. I guess it's a long-time membership in the National Recreation and Parks Association.
Jacob, are you a member of that?
I think I'm a member of one that's in Pennsylvania with like a student membership.
I think we should both be members of that. The main advantage really is the magazine, which is a big magazine with filled with ideas. As far as the conventions and so forth, I'm not sure, but that's really what you're paying for.
What is the cost of the membership?
$80 for him. I guess we could see if it's something else. I don't know.
If you're only interested in the magazine, perhaps you can share, but we could.
I can't tend to wrap it up.
All right, yeah, no, I'll move that we renew Robert's membership.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by myself, second by Mr. Barrett.
Since you're at a Parks Commission, to look into whether you want to be part of it.
Yeah, I will look at it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is Healing the Planet grant. This is something we tabled at our last meeting also, just to briefly discuss, and I think Julia had emailed us some information about this beforehand. So, Julia, do you want to recap that?
Sure. The board received 2 separate grants. I spoke to Brian sometime last week, I think, Brian.
Yep.
He discussed about safe extensions of the park.
Good.
So what we're looking at now, if we go with just we're going to be spending approximately, $7,500 on the benches, plus whatever freight shipping that is. We asked for quotes for benches and the swing set. The freight varies from about $1,500 to $2,000 for both items.
Sure.
So it'll come down a little bit if we only pursue the benches. The issue with this, though, is that this grant is tiered, so we would only be able to apply for $15,000 if we did that, and then we would be on the hook. For the other 3 or 4, biggest grant application, I'm thinking that the benches are really the easier way for us to go might just be to give the Broadhead Watershed Association our blessing and let them go after their sign grant by itself.
Yeah.
They're looking for a $10,000 grant at this time, which does include our road crew installing the signs on top of the kiosks that exist now. And there's hardware and whatnot that we'll have to go after.
Yeah.
And the township will also have to provide a landowner letter of support, because we're the ones who own the property.
This lets us, go later on and look at the swing set.
Yeah. I would advise that we look at those kiosks. I think it's gonna take a little, jigging the space for those signs which are smaller. Once we take out the glass, you wanna make it look nicely. Maybe something Joe Rossi can do. Okay.
And,
Go ahead, Brian.
yeah, speaking with, Julia, about the situation with the benches, I just say that those benches are, unbelievably sturdy and strong and lasting, flood resistant to say the least. They went through 2 major floods and are still sitting where they are. I hate like hell to see them just ripped out, and it's going to take some effort to rip them out because they're really anchored. I would just wonder if we could use some of this money better in other areas as opposed to going right after the replacement of the benches.
These are the flat benches near the kiosks.
That's correct.
Yeah, well, and then along the trail too, Robert. As you walk through the trail, we did a study on this, and John, you're there. Did you do the walk when we had to go to the second side and reschedule that whole loop trail and looking to where to put our benches? Yeah. But I say is that we did a walk with people of a certain age, and where would they walk, and in what condition they were in, and maybe somebody would say, boy, I could stop here and rest, and so we that's the way we positioned those. It wasn't arbitrary, but that's the way we positioned those benches. And if you've been down there, and Robert, I know you have been, you know how sturdy they are, and actually to this day they're and they look great. So I would rather, if you want to supplement, but I wouldn't hell like ripping them out and replacing them is I don't know.
My memory of them, and I was down there a couple months ago, is that they're in pretty good shape. They probably could use some varnish on them, but
that's all. Yeah, and now they're probably not handicap accessible, but that was not a requirement when we put them in. And maybe that's something, again, I'm saying, Julia, how much was the cost for the benches and delivery?
For the 12 benches, we're looking at about $7,500. The freight for the benches and the swings varies between, I think, $1,500 and $2,000. So for just the benches to be delivered, maybe $1,000. So easily $8,500, $9,000 for just the benches.
Well, what I'm going to say is the quality of the benches you're going to get for that price, and I looked at some of the information is out there. They're going to be a piece of shit, quite frankly, compared to what we have there. I would much rather leave it as it is as far as benches, and maybe divert some of that money into other areas, as you had mentioned, in the monies that could be available. Was it 10, 15, and 25? I forget.
Yeah, the grant tiers, we can apply for $10,000, $15,000, or $25,000.
Right, and then we're responsible for the balance. I guess, with all that said, I'd rather look at, maybe seeing in the future what we can do to emulsify the existing benches and potentially make them ADA accessible at some point. I was also...
I'm not sure they're not ADA accessible.
In order to be, considered ADA compliant, I think it's section 903 or 6. You do have to have a back to the bench.
Well, but that goes against, let's say, what is accessible on a playground, where you have, let's say, on the playground equipment we just put in, the lowest level is called a transfer platform. And what it's made for is so that you can go from a wheelchair and lift yourself out and put yourself on that platform. I don't think that's any different than the height of the benches, and there's certainly no back there or anything. It's just a place that you can sit, and then if you want to, you can sort of pull yourself up to the next level of the playground equipment. But it seems like the benches we have are kind of a transfer platform.
Well, understood. I mean, I was just saying, for our own edification, maybe just looking at that in the future. I mean, the thing I'd like to look at toward next year maybe is replacing, the swing set. But I would be fine at this point with pledging our full support for the BWA project and doing what we can to get, help them.
And yes, the thing to consider with the swing set is that was about $3,500. Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't gain anything from adding that onto the grant, except more of a headache for applying for the grant.
Right.
So if you do decide in the future to do this, we can pursue it separate of the grant and do it on our own dime.
Yeah, I'd rather, just pursue the BWA, or help the BWA pursue, their option. They're doing a really good job thus far, so.
Yeah.
If you want a motion to that effect, or are we?
If you don't mind motioning to do that, and then to also provide a landowner letter of support to the BWA for this application.
So we're motioning to keep the benches then? What are we?
Well, it wasn't ever to get rid of them. The motion is to support the BWA application instead of making one in our own right.
Oh, okay. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know. Are we getting rid of the benches, Jacob, or?
No.
Keeping them.
No.
The benches will not be part of the grant. We will keep the ones that we have in the park there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, my motion was just to support the BWA thing.
I got it.
The next item is, the multimodal.
Hold on. Brian, vote.
I voted. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Next is the multimodal grant application in regard to Green Mountain Drive Bridge. I know John, somebody from Shay and James, I want to say it was Missy, sent an email in regard to the progress on the grant. I don't know if you wanted to speak to.
We're in the process of moving forward. We gotta do a cost estimate. I threw a number out to you guys before. I've gotta make that a little bit more detailed for the grant, which we're working on. And then we'll get the grant in. We know we're well aware of the deadline, and we'll get that in. Now, we are going to need a resolution from you. In support of that. I don't think we need this meeting, but we will get that.
That is correct. Once you have, the numbers that we need to apply for, we can put that on our letterhead. I figured, depending on the timing of when we got the information, we will either have it 14th of July, the work session, or if we don't have it in time, we'll have it for the 20th.
Right.
And you'll have all the documents you need from us.
Right. Okay. No.
And then just, Robert, DLP, anything to report on progress there with their attorney or anything? I know we're awaiting the formal appraisal. Is that right?
I just actually got it today, the formal appraisal, and I sent it to them and said that as soon as I get back, we'll have a session with Ron and talk about it, and they're welcome to look at it. I also said that I think it came in at $66,000, and I said to him, if you don't take this, I'm going to sell my driveway to the township for the same amount.
All right. Yeah.
Well, that'll be good. So then we can get, I know the email that we have in our packet here from, it's funny I said I don't know who it was from because it was right in front of me. and I deliberately put it right in front of myself, is from Missy. So
Yeah.
we can also start to gather letters of support, and we know we have plenty of friends on Green Mountain Drive that we can request letters of support from, because of no impact home businesses, and there are 50 residents or so.
About that, yeah.
About that.
Yeah, so there are plenty of people that we will be able to be in touch with, and then we can also put this, as soon as we have the figures, we can have our Township Planning Commission and the County Planning Commission draft the correspondence in support of it, then our match letter too. So, I mean, we should be on pace for this month to have all of this taken care of.
Yep, if the board's okay with it, I will work with John, and I'll reach out to our senators and representatives and pursue letters of support.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. That'll be good. All right. Well, that's exciting then. Our next item is discussing the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The purpose of this is not necessarily the use of the funds, as the Department of Treasury still has not issued a final rule yet. They have a public comment period that runs through August, I think.
I believe it's July 16th.
Oh, July 16th, forgive me, July 16th, for commenting on, what they will tell us we can use it for. But our task here is to pick the bank that we deposit the funds in. Now, we got in front of us a copy of an email from Lynn to Julia to help us with the discussion, which just explains the three rates at the banks we have business at now. First National Bank is 0.19%, People's Security is 0.3%, and ESSA is 0.05%. I know there was an initial concern about a headache of closing an account, and maybe we don't have to close an account, for now, but I think it's a no-brainer to go with People's Security at 0.3%, because that interest has to be used for ARPA purposes, and it's simply the best rate we're going to get on the open market right now.
And it has to be interest-bearing, as you said. So, yeah, that's a good rate.
Yeah.
Do we have the motion for that?
Yeah, we definitely should.
Yeah, motion to open a bank account at People's Security to secure our ARPA funds when we get them. The way, board, I know we've talked about this, but just to rehash, BCED has not commented on whether or not switching the bank account that is associated with the single app switch any other funds that come through BCED to us. So they have recommended that we keep our general fund account in the single app, which is what we did. And then when that money comes into our general fund, we will transfer it out.
You just move it immediately then?
Right. We'll move it to another bank account to keep it separate so we can account for the interest and keep all of that federal money in its own little spot.
Right.
Okay, and Jacob, in this regard too, I really think that we have to take a look at that firm, the consulting firm that has been doing work locally. Actually, we're going to be working with the county commissioners when they do their July 13 presentation. We really got to consider. There's no hurry at this time, but consider engaging their services. They're really good.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is, I guess Julie's on top of it, and we've got everything in as far as our SAM reapplication, or whatever the heck it turns out to be. And we got a situation where if we didn't do this and apply to DCED with the proper documentations, we could have easily not received our allocation for this year, and they were going to reallocate it amongst our neighbors. I mean, and that to me, was kind of a surprise to see that. Julia's totally on top of it, discussed it, and we're in good shape. We made the deadline, which was the end of this month. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I can't wait to find out more from that meeting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I was just gonna ask, do I hear a motion that we, deposit the funds with People's Security?
In a new bank account.
In a new bank account, because it has to be separate.
Because it has to be separate at Pocono where we have account.
Right.
Well, in the absence of anyone else, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Levenheim. Do I hear a second?
You heard a second. Yeah.
Second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, on a brief side note, just because the People's Bank, or not People's, First National Bank, do we have to close that like now since there's nothing in it, or can we put like $1 in it to keep it? Because it's a better interest rate than others, and it might not be bad to hold on to.
We can absolutely do that. That account was set up because we needed to have a bank account with them in order to take out a little loan with them.
Yeah.
That account was created, we deposited a year's worth of expenses due to pay off. So right now, approximately there's $18,000 in that account. We can just leave that open. It has no purpose anymore, but if it's getting a better interest rate than our funds at ESSA, it will be another bank statement for our finance department to handle every month, but we could leave it open.
Well, we can hold that there for now since we pay the rest from the existing general fund.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. But, the interest rate will probably, the economy's recovering at this point. At least the big guys are making the money, so at some point maybe. All right.
Interest rates have got to go up.
Yeah. Well, I think they are. I think the Fed is going to raise interest rates. The next item concerns the curative zoning ordinance amendment made with the water gap matter last year on September 9th. Now, Ron prepared a resolution and sent that to us earlier, resolution number 481, to approve ordinance number 238 and fix the codification that we missed because of COVID, among other, reasons. Does that sum that up, Ron?
Yes, that's exactly right. We,
Excuse me.
changes were made as suggested by Supervisor Levenheim. Those changes were then reviewed by both the Monroe County Planning Commission and the Township Planning Commission, and then the matter was to come back before the board to give it an actual ordinance number, et cetera, which never happened. So,
Right.
The resolution that I prepared basically says that this is being done non pro tunc, which is fancy Latin to just say it should have been done before, and it's effective as of September, whatever date that is, September 14 of 2020, and I think that's, that will resolve the issue and make sure you have a ordinance number for it. I've already prepared the record to go to Judge Williamson, so I'm not gonna give them.
Oh, he's hearing the appeal.
Yes. Zillick must have either gotten tired of us or said, you do it, I'm not sure which. So I'm not gonna make a copy of this resolution to go with the record. I just have a copy of the plain ordinance with it, and that's enough for him to be able to make a decision, so.
Okay.
So this is really housekeeping.
Yeah, it's housekeeping, but should be done because we don't have a number for that ordinance.
Okay.
Right.
I'll make the resolution that we adopt, ordinance 238.
I'll second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, I make the
Aye.
motion.
Aye.
Motion that we adopt ordinance.
The number will now be 238, Julian, is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Could I add one item to the agenda here?
Before then, if you've adopted the ordinance, we also need to separately adopt resolution 41 this time? Or are they in?
Well, so ordinance ordinance 481,
Resolution.
481 makes clear that we did adopt
We did adopt.
238.
Okay, thank you, I misunderstood.
No, you are totally fine. Robert, before we get to your thing, we just have one more, quick thing, which is in regard to the insurance meeting that Julia and, Brian attended earlier with, Paul from Brown & Brown. Brian, do you want to sum that up?
Yeah, very briefly, came through. It was good. We're going to save money. We're going to save over $9,000 overall. A good, reputable company. We're going to recommend switching from EMC, which we use, and going to, what's the name of that other company, Julia? I'm sorry? Yep. And the other good news about this is that EMC will continue with their providing legal care for us to the matters that we're involved with now, and that the Scriver suit, and there's another one they're going to be using. Probably maybe the situation with Water Gap Country Club, and I'm sure there's something going on there, but at least one. Ron, you know of at least where we stand in that respect about suits and court actions against us. So EMC has provided through our insurance policy legal representation, which has been well done. So having said that, I would strongly recommend that we do save ourselves over $9,000 and have as good or better an insurance representative for us in that the switch would be, I think, well worthwhile. Recommended by our insurance agent, and Julia, we sat in that meeting together. How do you feel?
For everybody in the audience, the EMC proposal came in at $103,659. I said that wrong, my apologies. And Selective was $94,283. Those costs do not include a 5% credit pending for our safety committee meeting, and as soon as we furnish that paperwork, we will be able to get an additional 5% off a premium that's approximately $40,000. Paul is comfortable with Selective. He works with them a lot. He feels that this would be a good move for the township.
Excellent. Do I hear a motion on?
I'll make that motion, Jacob. Yep.
Motion by Mr. Barrett. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Robert, you can add whatever you were about to.
I received a letter from Burnley Employment and Rehab Services. They're soliciting contributions, and I think we all know it, and it's a very reputable and important aid to the local community. I would suggest we give them $100.
Robert, that's boy, I forgot about Burnley. I was on their advisory board. I totally agree with that, and $100 is fine.
Robert, would you like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, sure, definitely.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Robert. That's
It's been sitting on my desk for a while, Brian, and if anyone knows me, you can see why.
I don't go near that office here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Our next item is paying our bills. It includes two sets of payments from June 16th and also from June 17th. That includes our standard legal advertising, a couple of Barry Isaac bill, Shane James bill, our Strausser bill, our waste management bill for our spring cleanup, and as well as energy bills, and that comes out to a grand total of $6,854.07.
I'll make a motion to pay the bill.
Okay, motion to pay the bills by Mr. Levenheim. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, we've got public comments. Does anybody either on Zoom or in person wish to make any comments? Hearing none, I'll ask Do any of my colleagues have anything they wish to, bring up before we conclude?
I just, Robert, have a safe and wonderful trip, and I know, knowing you, we'll probably see you on FaceTime at one of these meetings.
Probably.
All right.
Sounds good. With that, do I hear a motion that we, adjourn this meeting?
Yes, you do.
Motion by my colleagues simultaneously. I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:43 p.m. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep. Ron, John, take care.
You too, Brian.
Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.